little bit. So by
We're,
ripple
we're
effect,
recording.
I'm
We're recording. I see it.
okay.
I see it.
We are.
Okay, good. Well, welcome everyone to the ripple effect. Check my sound here. And great to visit with you guys right away. And I'm excited for this segment. I know we have a lot of great stuff to talk about, but I wanted to kick it over to you first, Erica, to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you know our guest today, Katie Macks.
Hi. Thank you, David. Co-host David Kirsten. I am happy to be here. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a fruits and vegetables advocate, and I'm your co-host for the Ripple Effect. Wow. And yes, so I know Katie Macks a bunch of years now, and I'm so excited you're coming on to our little show. And you're a light in the world. So you've been coaching, you've been creating mischief for a long time. We know each other because of people. I have my lip balm, it's pink. We've been connecting over the years, and it's sort of gone like this. And then one time it was like, I just have to come take your class, and I did, and it was very profound and powerful. And so I can't wait for you to share with us about what's up, what's the latest, and the kind of work you do is transformational and motivational, and sometimes it's individual, sometimes it's groups. But let's hear from you. And thank you for coming, pink hair, Katie Macks.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm so happy to be here with you both. I feel so fortunate that we have all connected, right? I think you're amazing, Erica. I think you're amazing, David. And I love to be around really kind of cutting edge people, right? Like that are moving towards what really lights them up even more and more and more. And I feel like both of you do that. So yeah, I'm right now in kind of the middle of redefining things because I feel like part of my purpose in the world is to really meet the times we're in, right? So part of what I do is I evolve based on what's happening in the world. So I've been a coach for many, many, many years. I have focused on relationship with self. It's the most important relationship that any of us are going to have in our lifetime, because the relationship we have with ourselves is what ripples out to all of our other relationships. I'm devoted to self-leadership, and I'm also devoted to joy and pleasure as the foundation for living. And I know that that is so difficult because we live in a conditioned state of struggle or suffering or low self-esteem, and we just try to like reach for something better, but we're in patterns that just keep us in the same cycle. So I really am here to help people bust through the patterns that we're accustomed to and that are familiar with us, within us, to find a better way.
Like, for example, the pattern of watching stupid on and on, same thing every day, watching news that's the same stupid stuff every day. Like, this is the year 2024.
Mhm.
We're gonna, how much are we gonna listen to of the stupidness? So I'm mad at myself for listening to the same, and it's, why am I putting that in my head before I go to sleep? Why am I waking up to see, so I'm mad at myself, and I'm saying it here. I was just doing some writing before coming on here. It's like, what if I had a year of tuning it out and doing what I really need to do, and less procrastinating and more being in my purpose and my love and my light, as opposed to listening to what did that stupid the last leader, whatever. So what do you think about that, Katie? Let's just make this really real, raw and real, because I'm feisty and I'm mad.
Well, right on. Like, so I'm going to say a couple of things. Feisty and mad, you know, we are all filled with so many emotions, and we've been conditioned, especially as women, to not be too much, not feel too much, like just be contained. And I just want to say something about women and our emotions. It's our superpower, as long as we use it for good versus hurting ourselves. And when I say hurting ourselves, I mean making ourselves wrong, blaming ourselves, blaming others, all those things. It's like we are meant to feel so that we can ignite a passion to move forward in a way that's congruent in a more positive way with what we want. Right. So that's a huge integral part of the work that I do. And the patterns of hooking into fear, like you said, like watching the news and hearing all the things, it just feeds the same narrative that keeps us in cycles versus something that can feel so much better. And it makes me want to talk about inner activism, right? Like for all of the viewers, I have been an activist my whole life. I have been a stand for justice in the world. And I forgot about me. Like I can focus externally on you, but I'm kind of left going, well, where am I? Right. And so I feel like the work that is needed in the world is the inner activism. And what I mean by that, like, how do I soothe myself? How do I turn myself on? And when I say turn myself on, I mean really bring joy and light into my own life so that that can ripple out. It's the antithesis of anything we've been taught. We've been taught to watch the news, to hook into fear, to be in lack, to never have enough, to all these things that keep us spinning and not focused on ourselves and what matters. And that is a very traumatic way to live. It really creates a base of trauma that we end up chasing versus being able to be grounded and self-loving and like that.
Absolutely. I see David has a finger up. Like, did you want to get in something here between me and
Jump in, David?
Oh, I was just going to give a little testimonial that it's kind a little bit like going to church, listening to Katie talk about stuff because she has really a message that everybody connects with, and just makes you creates this awareness of some of the things that we're struggling with. Everybody's struggling with in today's world that we're not necessarily conscious of. And I know I still gotta have you meet my mom at some point because um I think, she, you know, Erika talking about getting wrapped up in that news cycle, she recently stepped back from that and has been a lot better off. And,
And what about you, David? I mean, did
yeah,
you step back from your
yeah,
news?
I have too. Yeah. How do you identify the things that are creating maybe this toxic cycle in us? And then what do you replace that with? How do you make that kind of replacement? Yeah.
Oh, it's a process, right? And I want to say that up front because I feel like one of the things I'm not thrilled with in the coaching world, it gives a very flowery thing of like, oh, you just do this and you'll have this, right? Like there's a lot of promises made. And what I want to say about making changes is it's a spiritual practice and it's ongoing. Right? Like I could, for example, say, I'm not going to watch the news. I'm getting out of the fear cycle. I'm really going to focus on the things that light me up in my life. And if I kind of start watching the news a little bit or start getting hooked in, it is a daily practice. Right. And I think that's really important to know. So, when I make changes, I do need to replace like a behavior with another behavior. Right? Like I can't just say, oh, I'm going to stop the news and then get into conversations with people that really hook me and I'm like terrified and all that continues, right? It's like, no, I'm going to have boundaries around things that scare me and I've had enough, and I'm going to replace it with, it could be something like I go to the gym, I move my body, I meditate, I get together with people in my life that bring me pleasure and joy. Right. So there are behaviors that you can start implementing that have kind of fallen by the wayside to replace the addiction, because really what it is, it's a chemical addiction. That's a trauma can also be very addictive because of the chemicals that get released in our system.
Yeah, it's like this. So operating all the time in fight flight, operating
That's right.
all the time. No, we don't need that. We need those rest and digest and overdoing it right now.
Oh my goddess. Thank you. We need to pull back and breathe. And that's really hard because we have so much anxiousness about change. And it's like learning to self-soothe is learning to sit with the feelings you have so that you can move through to something better. But we need to slow things down. I love what you said, Erika, slow things down so that we can be at choice and not be operating on automatic.
So
Great.
let's get specific, Katie Macks. Like, what is it that you are offering or doing? Like, how can people come be with you right now these days?
Well,
'Cause
right now, people can come one-to-one. I'm in a whole process of just trying to figure out a really expanded view of community, because I feel like community is essential to our well-being, to
heck
be
yes.
around other people that are inspiring us to see that what we think is not possible is possible, right? Because our brain has a lot of messages that keep us in the cycles, right?
Yeah.
So the community is, for me, really where it's at,
Yeah.
because
So okay, I have committed to myself that I want to do weekly gatherings at my home, or maybe I'll go to Stockton, or maybe I'll go to, wherever, but I want to be part of this community bringing together. I want to create it for myself. I want to be part of the communities that are creating. So I love your stand. I love that you are going to do this too.
yes.
And
But one of the things I think that's really important, Erika, and
yeah,
I think that we kind of blow our own minds when we have these impassioned visions, like, I want to do it every week. And I think that that's gorgeous. But I think where it starts is we start like pleasuring ourselves with our thoughts, like, oh, I want to have these communities, and start envisioning it and spend time there, and then take small bite-sized pieces, because we live in a culture that's
yeah,
all or nothing.
yeah, like maybe once a month is the first place to start, and then go to, like, I love Barbara's, the 15th. She does
Oh,
these
yes.
dinners, and it's like, okay, can I do the 30th?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna do the 30th, and start there with monthly dinners,
absolutely.
and yeah,
But one of the things that, like, I will talk to my clients about is, like, start thinking about what lights you up, because that starts interrupting your patterning, and it also starts to create new neural pathways in your brain. And
yeah,
so thinking about things first and going, oh, that would be great, or, and then
yeah,
like taking the actions and then seeing what unfolds and then dealing with that. And I just know so many people that have a short time vision of what it's going to take, and everything takes a lot more time. And so slowing the process down and getting clarity and operating out of the clarity and learning once you start implementing is very rich. And I feel like in our fast culture, we bypass a lot of the information that can unfold for us, because we think we should be other than where we are, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to either one of you?
yeah. It's quick, quick, quick. You're saying slow, slow, slow to go quick.
Yes.
Slower, slower.
Slow down.
You
You
say
will
this.
go so much faster if
Yeah,
you slow down with more clarity.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I love that. I love that. I was just at this I was assisting at my friend's joyful family camp this 2 weekends ago, and she had us do this listening exercise where you're going back to back with the family was going back to back. I was on the side. We're doing it with a co-person, and then she drew something, and then she described it to me for me to draw, and vice versa. And it was so freaking funny how specific we need to be able to slow down to hear each other. And the family, they were very, very specific. They're like 13 lines down, make an X, or whereas this person who I was partnered up with was like much more abstract artist. And I'm like, honey babes, if you want me to get anywhere near what you're doing, you might want to be a little more specific. So it was so funny. This young nanny, she's becoming a parenting coach. So anyway, all that to say, it's like, how can we slow down and listen and be specific and slower? Not that we're like, you know, we're not going to be able to take in the information, but just slow to really receive, to really.
Absolutely.
I
I mean, part
And-
of what I've done to pull back is to give myself space so that my creative juices can flow. When I'm pulled in a million directions and I've got a lot going on and I'm trying to do a million things, I cannot tune in. I just can't. But when I actually create some space, all of a sudden I get downloads like, oh, that would be brilliant, or oh, I could do this and this. And, and I have so many ideas. Now it's a matter of like, okay, like, let me just delve into a few things so that I can, and it starts in my thought process so that I can feel
Mhm.
more confident moving forward with what I really want to create.
That listening. What were you going to say, David?
I was just gonna say, I will put the links to your website. I don't know if you have a upcoming event or something, because the way I got introduced to some of her deeper thought was through her webinar that you did where you talk about this stuff. Or, I was just thinking of how to kind of stay in your orbit, so to speak, and that you have these great emails you also put out. So,
The
and as you
webinar that you're talking about, David, is like, let's be specific. It was about grappling with our times, traumas. What did you call it specifically, Katie?
It's release your trauma to unleash your joy. And that to me is the essence of it. Like, and in bringing that up, and David, thank you for your reflection. I really appreciate that. Here's the thing. I just want to normalize what it means to be human. I think we're all walking around in a lot of trauma. And what I mean by that, and let me just first say this. It's normal. We are all in fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, and really defended. And if we can slow down enough to just go, oh, I just need to self-soothe. I need to really take care of myself and be aware of what's going on around me.
Yeah.
We have so many more choices. If we're in knee-jerk reactions and we're moving like we're fighting, or we're, I was a fawner. I was a people pleaser. I still can be thrown to people pleasing. It doesn't just go away. That's the other thing. Like, I'm just a lot more aware now, so I can be at choice. But people pleasing was such a thing because I never felt like I belonged. And so if I could please you, then I could belong. And in pleasing others, or in fighting, or in running away, or in freezing, we are not connected to the people we're engaged with. We are in survival. And so to move from survival into a much more whole place is really what I support my clients in. So they're empowered to make decisions and choices that light them up. So I do want to say my website, I hired somebody. This was really a thing. I hired somebody. They ended up by accident, like, deleting my website. They didn't know they needed to archive it first. So my website should probably be up and running again within the month. So
So you can find you on Instagram. You can find
on
you
Facebook, on Instagram,
LinkedIn. You're on there.
Yep. And so you can message me and I will respond. I also offer a 30-minute free alignment call. So if you are like, I want to have a deeper conversation, you can get on a call with me for 30 minutes. And that gives us an opportunity to see if you're, we're a good fit for each other, because that's really important when you choose the person you're working with. And when I'm choosing my clients, because it is a co-created experience, like to say, yes, I am so aligned with you. I'm ready to do the work. Yeah. And when I say the work, I mean finding your joy, right? So when I talk about trauma, I'm not talking about going back to old stories. I'm talking about learning to regulate your nervous system so that you can bring it down many notches and be in touch with what it is you want to create for yourself in your relationships, in your work, in your life, in your community.
Yeah, and I know there's a certain kind of type of person out there with issues they struggle with, and that you would really connect with in terms of, the timeliness of it. And I don't know if you have a certain way you describe that person, and then also like what it would be like maybe a new person who wants to connect with you. What are kind of the ways to get started with you? Yeah.
Okay. So, I would say the people that are really ideal that I work with for me are people in midlife and above, right? So I would say like people who've had a lot of life experience and are kind of looking up in their 50s going, what? Like, what? Life didn't necessarily turn out the way they envisioned. And it's people who really have a hunger to feel better, right? And to embrace who they are. And I feel like I'm not a band-aid person. I'm not someone who's just going to put band-aids. I'm going to give tools to people who really want to be engaged, who, if they feel like they're living a smaller, more constricted life, to kind of come out and say, I want more, and I have so many gifts, and I don't know how to give them. And I feel like that's a huge thing for my clients, that they just have, they're so gifted, but they're not sure how to bring it into the world. And that can be related to business. It can be related to relationship. It can be related to our creativity, right? And the other piece for my clients is, my clients aren't necessarily the norm, right? Like they're a little bit out there, like they're creatives. Yeah, Erica, like they're just creatives that have never really felt like they fit into like the designated roles that have been offered to us. And so if you're one of those persons who is a creative, or you feel different in the world, I'm a super safe place to land. I see you because I'm that human too.
Yeah, well put, and that's what I love about the city of Berkeley and the Bay Area in general too, is there's a lot of those types of people around. That's kind of like the norm around here is not the norm, you
It
know.
is.
And I love how you put that too, and that we've interviewed a lot of coaches between this show and the other show. And I know Erica, and you really stick out as somebody who's different, because it's not really about how to grow your business or a life coach. You're really different from the other coaches we've seen. So I'm trying to kind of put it in words, but I think you described it pretty well right there. Because a lot of times to get what we really want, it's more of a holistic view than just this or that. And you got to cut through a lot of that other stuff first before you can get to the kind of like real steps that are going to like take you to, how to live your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you so getting it, because you have always gotten it from the time we started connecting. And one of the things I'll say is, I just am not a formulaic coach, right? I'm not formulaic. Formulas for me don't work, because our brains work differently. We're all different. And so I want to see
Yeah.
the person I'm working with. And this is the other piece is, I don't have the answers. I've got tools, but all my clients have the answers within them. My job is to help excavate so they find their own answers. I'm not going to say you do this and this and this and you'll get here. It's like, no, we're going to excavate so you feel safe enough to really honor who you are, and the gifts that you have, to bring them out into the world. And it makes all the difference, like, not to be formulaic in my world.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well put.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so not a formula.
Yeah.
To tune in and really create safety, and then find out what emerges. Oh my goodness. Like, I mean, I working with you in your, what was it, a 2-day class?
Mm-hmm.
It was like the most unusual thing that happened for me, where I was like, I think I have to go swim with dolphins in Hawaii. And that was like in your class, that when it was like a huge revelation to get that from being in the listening place that you created. And so funny, Katie, so funny. The
And it
list.
changed your whole
Yeah, It really
outlook,
did.
right?
It
Like,
really did. It really did. So cool. So I highly recommend working with you. I highly recommend whatever you have going on, like go to it, check it out, have a 30-minute convo. And yes to community, yes to listening, slowing down. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on and sharing with us.
thank
Yeah, and
you.
we'll definitely have you back routinely, and we'll keep that conversation open. I know last time we met, you opened up a lot of things that I think about how to build that community, maintain that community. And I thought of that. What was that? Is that the Claremont Hotel or something that closed down? I realized there's been kind of a decline in community spaces. No, it wasn't the Claremont. It was, that place over by the lake that Corey and Gail
Oh
used
yeah,
to
the
go to.
women's,
The
The Bellevue Club you're
the
talking about?
Bellevue
Bellevue
Club.
Club that
Former,
I
yep.
just love to have a place like that back, to where you can meet regularly because it's about getting the right people together who you connect with and then having a good curation. And I feel like you would be so good. Both of you would be so good to be in a group like that. So we
Mm.
should see what
There,
we can
there
come up
are
with.
so many great, beautiful new places to meet, and I have a hit on that. So if you need spaces, either of you, or you want to create something like collaborative, I'm a yes. Like
I'm a
hell,
yes
yeah.
too.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's create. I think this is the year for creating. This is the year for
100%.
creating.
And getting back into like a rhythm with being with people, right? I
Yeah.
feel like there's been a
Yeah.
real
My other word for this year is savor, like to
oh,
savor. Isn't that cool?
yes.
Savor.
But there's people, the people that I've been talking to just haven't quite made the shift from the COVID kind of isolation to the engagement back, because when we engage, and if we watch the news, coming back to what you first said, Erica, is we're scared shitless. So we
Yeah, they're
don't
not in a
act.
mindset to be able to engage when you're in shock or, that trauma is like all over some people's face. They're not all there, so yeah.
Yeah.
I've been going to karaoke every Friday night with a friend of mine who's also a colleague, a clinician, and we've been like totally stepping out of our comfort zone and singing songs that, I mean, I'll just speak for myself. I've been singing songs that are like way out of my comfort zone. I sang White Rabbit from, and by the end, I'm like, wow, what was all that noise about?
You
And
go to that place here where we had that meeting. That I love that
the new
place.
Parkway, yes, I love
Yeah,
the new
yeah, that
Parkway.
is
Every Friday
awesome.
they have
Yeah.
karaoke 8 to 11, and I try to go every Friday like religion. And so I sang I Am Light by India Ari,
Mm.
and I sang The People Have the Power by Patti Smith.
Oh,
And it
so
was just,
good.
I mean, so I want to invite you to come over, and we usually get there around 9, and then we sing from 9 to 11, but get there early and get your songs in. I'll
So
give you the
fun.
skinny. But anyway, it is so fun to get to talk to you and share you with the world. If you're tuning in and you are listening to Katie Macks for the first time, run, don't walk to connect. And I'm just so grateful, David, that we have this show to have people come on and learn
Yeah,
about greatness.
yeah, I love it too. And we'll put those like to your LinkedIn so people can connect with you, and we'll keep in touch. And as we do build more, I feel like one thing I love about this show is we do kind of build a virtual community of folks, and then we have them back and keep in touch that way too, in
Yeah,
addition to the other things.
absolutely.
So,
You guys,
but
you're
well done,
both so
folks. Well, I'm going to
wonderful.
wrap
Thank
up
you.
this one, and
Go on
we'll
out,
see
and the
everyone's
people have
next
the
week.
power.
Yeah. Bye,
People
everyone.
have the power.